How do? This way, kid. So I've been learning and reading about fentanyl for a couple of years now. It is a nasty, nasty drug. Man-made opioid. Man-made opioid, yeah? Devastated the States. Mostly made in China. It's getting shipped to Mexico, going over the border into America. Yeah, heroin, lifelong heroin addicts, overdosing in the thousands, yeah? Tiniest amount of fentanyl added to heroin makes it lethal. But they're not just putting it in heroin now, there is pill factories, yeah? Prescription medication, the drug industry in America is massive with pain clinics and the like. What is it? Xanax, Oxycontin, please forgive my pronunciations, trade names for drugs, putting fentanyl in that, small amounts. It is lethal. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin, 100 times more potent than morphine, yeah? Thousands and thousands of deaths. There is a drug, is it naloxone, naloxone, something like that, yeah, that they're using with good success in America. Basically, on the streets, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people ODing. They have teams of drug workers, bless them, going round, someone's OD'd, bam, syringe full of this drug in them, yeah? And it brings them round, it saves their lives. It's everywhere. Fentanyl dealers started dying the fentanyl because they sell it on its own, yeah? So besides being in heroin, you wouldn't know it's in, 50 times more potent than heroin, you're a goner. In painkillers and the like you're taking, but you also sell it on its own. And dealers started dying it, yeah? So, for instance, you're dealing a certain strength fentanyl, you dye it purple, people know what they're buying. It is an absolutely lethal drug, yeah, tiny, tiny amounts. You buy something at wrong potency you're not used to, you're gone. That's it, you're a goner. Why am I talking about fentanyl? So after my last video on spice in UK prisons, I got a few messages, thank you very much. New strain of spice in prisons, whether it's a new strain, a new mix or whatever, or perhaps it's the same old spice. That's not knocking it, it is lethal, but with fentanyl added. The word fentanyl is being bandied around. Let me tell you right now, I'm really surprised that stuff hasn't been mentioned more in this country. It's devastated America. Politicians have been talking about in the Senate, you know, about strategies, drug strategies, how to prevent it. It's serious stuff, absolutely serious stuff, and it's everywhere. If it gets into this country, it'll have a devastating effect. If it gets in prisons, the logistics around treating people in prisons, you know, it's a different kettle of fish. Let me explain, because, you know, you might not understand. When spice first entered prisons, I remember my first incident on A-Wing. People have been talking about spice, no one was sure what it were, the various different names, different brands, different mixes or whatever, yeah? Then, it was a green plant-like material, cannabinoid, yeah? There or thereabouts. Different strains, stuff like that. I was on A-Wing, working on there overtime. This lad had been brought in off yard, big lad, black lad, I don't know, 6'5", he's a right handful. Usually a pleasant lad. He didn't look well. He'd been put in his cell and he'd passed out. There was some concern about him. We got a nurse to come down from the healthcare. We went in his cell, me and my mate, in front of the nurse so she could like take his blood pressure and that, have a look. Boom, he comes straight up off the bed, pushed us both to the back of the cell. He's not punching and kicking, headbutting or anything like that. He's just come at us like a madman. Pushed us both big lads to the back of the cell, and then we're struggling with him then. Maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, someone pressed an alarm bell, some troops arrived, and then bam, he'd gone. just as quick as he came out as he's gone, on the bed. Blood pressure and pulse with spice, it can drop to nothing. Very, very worrying. I've also seen people where it's been racing. Now, if you're a nurse, you have to make a decision. Yeah, you've got a prisoner. Getting ambulance crews, paramedics into prison, depending on the level of security, is not straightforward. Both prisons I worked at were Cat B local. One was in the high security estate. Difficult. You know, it's going to take time. It's not like attending a house or somebody on the street on the out. You've got to get them into the jail, then you've got to get them to the wing residential unit. It was scary stuff and it was happening a lot. At the time, it was more of an inconvenience to staff. It was happening that regular. That's not to say you hadn't got a care inside or duty of care. It was just happening. You know, you were having to lock wings up, bring people in off exercise, or try. You know, it became very frustrating. I remember almost being in a riot or mutiny situation, again on A wing. Beautiful day like today. We got all the lads out. Somebody threw a whitey. He'd had spice. I saw him, I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. Boom. Hit the floor, bounced off the floor, no arms out to protect himself. He'd gone right mess of his face. We tried to get the lads in off the yard, that weren't happening. You know, it became a very, very dangerous situation very quick. Alarm bell. We ended up, it was that tense and that few staff that we ended up bringing the lad off the yard and leaving him out. Sometimes you just have to pick your battles. That was a no-brainer, yeah? Live to fight another day, as it were. So yeah, fentanyl, that's the first time anyone's mentioned that to me with regard to prisons. If they get that in prisons, it is going to be problematic. You know, somebody brings a load of spice into prison, it's very easy to get in. A little goes a long way. You know, so somebody in the top jail, bottom jail, selling it, it'd get all around the jail, distributed everywhere to every wing. You know, you get stuff coming in and it's got something like fentanyl, well, fentanyl in it, wow, devastating. The other thing you have to understand, a lot of single cells now, a lot of people have advocated for prisoners not being padded up with other prisoners. That's great, you know. However, some people used to like the company. Vulnerable prisoners, sometimes would like to be padded up with somebody. Not everyone wanted a single cell. But if you're in a single cell at night, you take some spice or whatever, OD, yeah, you're dead. Because me as a prison officer, I'm checking on, I did used to, not everyone did, I'd go around 4 times a night. There or thereabouts, non-specific times, 4 checks, and you are doing a head count, literally. So if I'm on K-Wing at that time, there was 200 prisoners, I'd count 200 prisoners, make sure they were all there. I'm not checking that everyone is alive. I attended, lad, give me a dead eye. What are you doing, you? I attended a coroner's where I've been involved in a death in custody, and the coroner suggested to me that perhaps staff, when checking on prisoners, doing a head count 4 times during the night, should make sure every prisoner was alive. So at that time, we had about 1,100 prisoners in Strangeways. Can you imagine? And there's not many staff on nights, maybe 12 staff in the jail, if that. You are going on every wing 4 times a night, waking everyone up to make sure they're alive. Not very practical, dangerous, and it's going to cause problems. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Hope you're all well. I'd like to thank everyone who supported the channel. Continuous positive comments. Everyone who's been on the channel, past, present and future. Your support for them. And, you know, we're going to be back on it. I've got interviews coming. I am working a lot of hours at the minute. I've got a lot on. But yeah, thanks for the continued support. Al City.